Greetings, people of the internet. This is Scott with Serkworks Art Labs. Welcome once again to the underground laboratory where we create robots, aliens, zombies, and other imminent threats to humanity. Today, we've got a topic that I've talked about before, but it's come up again because, believe it or not, there are artists out there telling you that you should work for free. That's crazy talk. Actually, I'm going to give you my opinion, and if you've been following me for a while, you might know where that's coming from, or my answer, may surprise you. But I definitely want to talk about this. And while I'm doing that, we're going to do a little sketching or a little inking. We're going to ink in these two drawings. Now, as you can see, we're doing some animal drawings today, this octopus and this little pig hog guy on a bike. Of course, these are already done. So what do? How can we see the process of this when they're already done? Well, what we do is go to an alternate timeline a little bit behind ours where these are in the process of being created right now. So how do we do that? We go to the paralleloscope. Takes us to an alternate reality, and we're going to see this happen, and I'm going to give you my insight to what I really think about whether or not artists should work for free. Let's go to the paralleloscope. Okay, so I wanted to quickly put out this video while it's still fresh in my mind and everything, but this is sort of in response to a video that Will Terry put out. And if you guys aren't familiar with Will Terry, great channel, always has tons of great professional advice for artists. And though I'm going to kind of maybe disagree with him on a few things on there, I really do like his channel. I appreciate all the videos he puts out, and I would encourage you, if you're not familiar, and most of you people are because you've got a fairly big audience for an artist on YouTube, but I'll put the link in. Definitely check out his channel if you haven't already. But he put out a video entitled "You Should Work for Free," and when he starts off, he admits it's kind of clickbaity and everything. I don't really have a big problem with that. But a lot of his reasoning, and I think what's weird is most of his videos are fairly long, like sometimes 30, 40 minutes or whatever. This one was a little bit shorter. I think it was like it was under 20 minutes, and most of that was footage of him kind of out exercising or riding his bike and stuff like that. So a little shorter than most of his videos. So I think a lot of the things that he probably should have touched on, maybe he just glossed over or whatever, but a lot of the reasons he gives for certain situations, and in my opinion, there are situations where you can work for free, but they're few and far between. But some of it I don't think he really expanded on, and I think there's nuances involved and some tips if you are thinking about working for free. So, and I'm not trying to put words in his mouth or anything. This is just kind of my opinion based on kind of some of the things that he said and things that I think he may have left out. A lot of what the topic was about, a lot of his kind of scenarios centered around doing auditions to get projects, to get jobs, to get either full-time freelance jobs or whatever. And in certain cases like that, I don't have a problem, but I think he did leave out a few things. So let's see. Okay, so every job is different, and as you've been doing this as long as I have, you tend to learn a few things along the way, and you begin to kind of see some of these same patterns, and you can kind of sort of assess the situation and kind of find out if some of these companies are legitimate or not. So and that comes with time. So hopefully I'll try to give you some tips so you maybe can see some of these red flags and everything. But with a lot of freelance projects, I don't usually agree to do any kind of test drawings. Now, if it's a larger project, maybe they need to know more than just what's in my portfolio. But for most intents and purposes, your portfolio, that's the reason why you have it. You can point people to your portfolio and say, this is the kind of work I do, and this should give you a good idea that I can do what you're talking about. Now, maybe their project's a little bit different. I have sort of the advantage that I've done this for so long that I've pretty much done almost I've done projects for all kinds of different industries, whether it's healthcare or food or whatever. I've done just a little bit of everything. So I can go back in my archives and say, well, here's something I did for so-and-so that's sort of similar to what you're doing, or, a certain style that's similar to what you're doing. So that is a benefit that I have, having done this for a while. But I'll kind of again, this is stuff that you can kind of do on your own too, even if you don't have all those projects, and we can kind of get into that a little bit. But so anyway, so if somebody needs something else, I'll send them additional samples, and usually they can kind of get the gist that I can do this project. Now, if it's a larger project or whatever, that might be a little different. And again, this is sort of comes with experience, and you can kind of you can figure out if the company's legit or not, and you can say, okay, we can maybe work something out. I can do a test drawing. Try to be smart about it. Do some research if it's an established company that you can look into. Research them online. If it's a newer company, that's a little harder. But sometimes you got to go with your gut, just based on things that you're telling. Again, some of it comes with experience. But because there's a lot of companies out there who want you to work for free, and then they'll just take you. And it's not necessarily a test. They'll want to take your artwork and use it on whatever the product is, or sometimes they're fishing for ideas. Sometimes they may go to a little more established illustrator. All this is hard because most established illustrators can kind of see through this, but maybe get their ideas, maybe get a quick concept sketch, and then, well, we can't really we can't afford you, and so they maybe say they're not going to do it or whatever, and then they go to somebody else, pay them less, and so, can you do something like this? This is what somebody else did, and I've been on both ends of that before. So somebody has come to me with something another artist did, and maybe they can't afford to go on, so they use me probably earlier in my career, and then sort of the flip side of that as well. Sometimes companies, there's companies that think they want to do something, and when it comes down to it, they're just flighty or whatever, so they've done work and they're like, well, we really decided we're not going to do it. So you got to be careful with situations like that. Now, so again, usually with freelance projects, I tend not to do really any kind of test drawings or anything like that. In certain situations, maybe. But with like full-time positions, I have done test projects, and there's some things that I want you to pay attention to here, because again, this is some things that I think in Will's video he kind of glossed over a little bit. So I've done test artwork for full-time positions at game companies, for a sports apparel company. Even my current day job, I did a test drawing from there. The difference is, a lot of times, now for one, each one of these companies that I did test for, I actually met them in person. This was for a full-time job. I can go there, I can actually meet with the people, get a sense of what they're all about and everything like that. So this was after I had already met them in person. Then they said, we like you, we've already met with you, can you do a test drawing? And then I've done that. Now most of those times I actually did get the position. So that's part of it, okay? You've already established a relationship there before. This isn't just somebody just calling people trying to figure out if they'll kind of do something for free. I can go in, I can meet with people, and you get a one-on-one. So that's a little different. Animation studios, that's pretty common with animation studios that you have to do a test. So a lot of times tests, I don't even consider that really. I don't even know if that's in the same ballpark as just people out there looking to get work for free. Now, the other thing is, in situations where they do want you to do a test, in all the situations that I mentioned that I was involved with, I made an agreement with them that they could not use the artwork. That I'll do a test, but this is just for test purposes. You can't turn around and use this for one of your projects. None of them had a problem with that, all right? And if you are in a situation where they do have a problem with that, that would be a big red flag for me, because a lot of these companies, say if you're doing something for Disney or whatever, as a test, they're not going to use that. Really, they aren't. They're just going to use it to test you, to see if you can do the style of work that they're trying to go for. Now, a lot of times when I'll say, when I do these agreements, and it doesn't have to be a contract, you can do it over email, just agree to this, then you've got it written down and everything like that. But most of these companies that do this type of thing, if they're willing to meet you and everything, and you have a rapport going, they're not out to steal your artwork. Now, granted, if it is Disney and you're doing a test using their characters, you can't say, I own it and you have to, if you do want to use it, you have to pay me, but just make some kind of agreement that neither of us will use this as just a test, and there's usually no problem whatsoever with that. So another thing in Will's video that he talked to, he kind of made a comparison to that, people do like samples and things, and they do stuff for free in other areas, and how that kind of equates to art. And I think a lot of these, for instance, he talked about movie trailers, which to me that doesn't have anything to do with anything. To me that's an advertisement. They're not really giving you something for free, in my opinion. They're advertising to you. That's a little different. But he mentioned like writing samples, songs, like you produce songs and you let other people use them. Usually you want them to tribute to you, tribute something back to you that you created, but you can use it for free. But to me, these are sort of false equivalents to artwork. These would be more of an equivalent to a portfolio. Now, granted, in a portfolio, you wouldn't usually let somebody use an image, but you can, whether it's a stock thing or something like that. But he talked about like samples, like food samples, getting you to try something. And again, to me, that's less of if you do a test for us, it's more like the food sample to me is more equivalent to your portfolio, because the food is already prepared. It's what they have already created. They're trying to get you, they're trying to entice you by giving you a sample. So if you're in the mall, somebody's, Chick-fil-A is handing out the samples, oh, this is good and everything, then you go in. Again, that's more of an advertising thing. It's a more adequate comparison would be if you're in the mall and there's a chef there and you go up to him, oh, hey, could you make me some risotto with the, sort of a little bit of a, like a pesto and tomato, and then they whip that up for you, and then you try it. That's more like a test drawing. They don't do that. Again, this guy handing out the samples, that's more like, take a look at my portfolio, you can see what I can do. Try this chicken, taste it, you can see it's good. All right. So I don't really agree with a lot of those comparisons. All right. So other than test drawings and things like that, when are some times when you can work for free? All right, or you should work for free. And here's a very simple way to figure that out. And it is when it's on your terms. If a client comes to you and they're wanting something for free, in most cases, I mean, again, there's nuances to everything, but if it's a project that you want to do, if they come to you, maybe haven't talked about money or whatever, you could say, I really do like this. I love the project, and I think it has legs or whatever. I'm willing to give you a break on the price or something, or possibly do it for free, depending on what it is. A lot of times maybe it's someone or whatever, but that's for you to decide. That's not for other people to decide. For instance, and I'll say this, like, friends should pay full price, all right? Or they should expect to pay full price. If you're doing something for a friend, you can give them a price break. That's perfectly fine. I do that a lot of times with people I know, or people I work with, or friends, and I'll say, I can do it for this, which is a lot less than my regular fee. But they shouldn't come to you because, hey, I can get a deal, I know this guy, or whatever. For instance, I do the art casters with Kevin Cross and Jeff Lafferty. And I love their work, and I own some of their work, but I'm not gonna approach them and say, hey, could you do this for me and give me a deal? I'm not gonna do that, because I want to support them, and your friends and family should want to support you as well. You can offer a discount, or you can offer to do something for free for a friend, but they shouldn't have to ask you for that. So speaking about times when you should do some things for free, a lot of things that's brought up is like charities and things like that. And by all means, if it's a charity you believe in, definitely donate your time. And I don't have a problem with that. There's nonprofits and things out there, but just to let you guys know, nonprofit doesn't necessarily mean that you don't get paid for a project. I've worked with a lot of nonprofits, and I've got paid, and paid pretty well. I mean, nonprofits do have budgets for things like that, all right? Just because they're not in it for a profit, they do have operating expenses and things like that. So it's just because something's a nonprofit don't just automatically let that make you believe that you're not going to get paid anything. I've done like comic book projects for nonprofits, and I got paid. I can pretty much safely say I got paid more for that than I would if I was just the standard guy at a Marvel or DC. all right? Maybe not like the big name artists, but your standard, most artists are DCs. I probably got paid more, and that was a nonprofit. So again, nonprofit doesn't actually mean that you work for free, but you know, again, if it's something you believe in, you know, that again, everything should come down to it's your call, all right? All right. Also in Will's video, he was concerned that a lot of established artists were telling people, you know, don't work for free because they don't want to be undercut, and that, you know, and there is some truth to that, but I don't think that's really realistic. There's always going to be people out there that are going to do something for less than you or whatever, and sometimes you just can't concern yourself with that. You've got to charge what you believe your work is worth, and kind of go from there. But my reason for making a video like this, and my reason for telling people in most cases not to work for free, is because I've done that. I've been burned plenty of times when I was young in my career, and I don't want people to make the same mistakes. I think it's better, you know, I don't think you should have to figure it out the hard way. I think giving advice and hopefully having you avoid some of those things, because that's going to make you become a better professional artist. And when that happens, it helps everyone. The rising tide raises all ships. So if you do better, then the industry does better. Everyone does better. So anyway, so what can you do? What now? If you are getting started and everything like that, you know, you've got to watch out for these things, because there are a lot of people out there who, you know, they'll come up to you and they're like, or they'll email you, whatever, and you know, I get these messages a lot. I got one not too long ago where somebody messaged me, just a Facebook message, hey, your work's great, and then so I responded back, hey, thanks, I appreciate that. Then they were like, well, we want to know if you want to work on this project with us, and blah, 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 and, you know, goes on, and, you know, we don't have any money, but, you know, we'll share the profits with you. And I can tell you 9 times out of 10 these things don't work, because if a company doesn't have the money to invest in building their company, then they probably aren't in a position to make their said company happen, all right? That's the way things work. There's never been a point where I turned down a job and then they became big and I was like, oh man, I really should have done it. But there's been plenty of the opposite things where I was stupid and I agreed to do it, you know, oh yeah, if you give me a profit, never happened. So just watch out for that. So anyway, so I responded back and I was like, yeah, I just, you know, it sounds cool and everything. I just, you know, I'm just not, right now, I'm not in a position where I can do that kind of work on a speculative basis or a profit sharing basis. And the thing is, usually once you say that, you don't even hear back. You don't hear, oh, I'm sorry, we can't work together. I understand, you know, we're in this situation right now. Nothing like that. They just drop off. You know why? Because they don't care. They don't care about your work. They're fishing. They're fishing to find somebody that's going to work for free. And rather than take their time to call you back or email you back and say, oh, we're sorry, we can't work it out, they're just on to the next person. They're go back on Facebook, find another artist. Hey, we really like your stuff. And that's what happens. So you got to watch out for stuff like that. And there's companies that'll approach you with, oh, you know, you work on this would be great for your portfolio. The thing is, you don't need that. You can create a great portfolio on your own. And this is my advice if you aren't in a situation where you've been doing this for a while. Create your own portfolio. You don't need them. They're not going to get you exposure. They're not in a position. If they don't have the money to pay you, 9 times out of 10, they don't have the wherewithal to get your name out there any better than you can. So make a great portfolio. Then you don't have to worry about them saying, oh, do this and do, you know, be art directing you to death, and in the end coming up with, you know, something that you don't want to put in your portfolio. I mean, I've done like logo designs for people and everything in the past, and you know, they've art directed me to death, and in the end I wasn't happy with the logo. So I took like the preliminary stuff that looked great, that I thought was better, and that's the stuff I put in my portfolio. Because you don't need that. Even if it's an established company, you can I mean, if you wanted to say, oh, I got a great idea for an illustration or an ad campaign for Coca-Cola, you don't necessarily have to actually be doing work for Coca-Cola. You can just do a mock, you know, campaign, put that up on your portfolio, and and don't hide the fact that you don't have to say this. Don't lie. Don't say I did this for Coke or whatever. Just say this is a concept I did. I wanted to pitch to Coke, and that's fine. People look at the work. They don't really necessarily care. I mean, there is something to having names, like if you got a big list of names of big clients that you work for. That's cool. But you can create whatever work you've done. I've seen people do, like, they've just, as a passion project, they've like redesigned all the NFL helmets and things like that in their own style. And a lot of times that can get the attention of these clients. You can do something just on your own personal project for something you love, and if it's for a product that's out there, they may see that or whatever, and they may want to hire you for real. So you don't need these companies to do work, have official, in quotes, in your portfolio. Just do your own stuff, and if it's good enough, people will see it and get it out there and everything. But you don't necessarily need to be working with these companies that aren't willing to pay you or whatever. You can get work otherwise. So this is my advice, is to spend whatever time you would be working on these these projects that don't pay you anything. If you're not going to get paid, when should you work for free? When it's your own personal stuff. I do my personal stuff all the time, and give back when you're talking about writing samples and things like that, or if you're talking about doing music and letting people use that. There's no problem with that. You created that music the way you wanted to, and you're letting people use that. If I create like art screensavers, and I want to share that, maybe it's got my URL on there, and that's promotion. That's fine, but you made the call. You decided that you wanted to do this creation your way. You put it out there, and then you're giving back that way. Same thing with games with in-app purchases or something. You're giving something away for free, but you're not doing it for a client. You're not catering whatever you want for a certain person. You're creating something you like, and you're using that to build your business off of. Even like these YouTube videos that I do. I'm giving my experience and my knowledge out to you guys, so hopefully you can learn about that. I'm giving that free of charge, and then hopefully maybe you guys will give me a follow or a like or whatever. And that's a currency that in the internet that works, that you can build a following that way. So, but just, again, it all comes from experience, but really try to, just be smart about it. If you got a bad feeling about something, chances are it's not going to work out. Do your own stuff for your own portfolio, and that's gonna pay way more dividends than if you're working on these free projects for something that maybe you don't even care about. So anyway, hopefully that filled in all the gaps. Again, overall I love Will Terry's channel and his videos and something. I just think he kind of skipped the beat on a few things here. So I just wanted to come in here and give my opinion. But there are certain cases where you can work for free, but most cases no. Be very wary and be cautious, and good luck out there. If you guys have any questions, hit me up in the comments section. I always try to get back to people if you have any questions, things like that. I'd love to help you guys out. But yeah, like, follow, subscribe, all that good stuff. I'll see you guys later. That is all.
Thank you.